Circus is a production of PBS Charlotte.
Just ahead on Carolina Impact,
He's blowing bubbles and breaking records. Coming up, we'll show you the man behind the soap bubble circus.
Don't go anywhere. Carolina Impact starts right now.
Carolina Impact, covering the issues, people, and places that impact you. This is Carolina Impact.
Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Amy Burkett. What's your hobby? Gardening, fishing, biking, hiking? With the cool, crisp days of fall, it's nice to get some fresh air and take a break from the daily grind. One Huntersville man found peace through an unusual pastime and turned his love for creating into a career. Carolina Impact's Danielle Koser has the story.
Bubbles. We drink them down, use them to wash up, and Steve Langley makes a living playing with these unpredictable psychedelic spheres.
Oh, that made two. Let me pop one up. I have to, pitch myself every day. I go, people pay me to make soap bubbles.
Langley started the soap bubble circus 2 years ago. Now he performs year-round, traveling across the Carolinas, wowing crowds with his one-man show.
It's blown up, so to speak. Here comes a surprise. Woo!
We caught up with him at the Concord Library.
Have you ever seen one of those, a soap bubble cube?
I was like, wow, I can't believe anyone could do that. I didn't even know what a bubble vapor is, but it looks cool anyways.
Eventually, Langley takes the show outside, using a magic wand of sorts to fill the sky with bubbles, some bigger than the kids in the audience.
This bit.
Kids, being kids, test the bubbles' boundaries, quickly discovering how fragile they are, getting a soapy shower as they burst.
I popped them and when they said, big balls, I won't pop them. Pop. It was amazing.
Believe it or not, Langley went to school to be a chef.
I actually started as a dishwasher, so it's almost full circle if you think about it.
He and a coworker teamed up and started performing as a comedy juggling act. Langley hoped to save a little dough so he could open a restaurant. The two called themselves the Fettuccine Brothers, a play off their day job in food service. That was 30 years ago. Since then, he's reinvented himself over and over again, transitioning from the great fettuccine to the paddleball king to a bubbleologist, earning 4 world records along the way.
Just when I thought my life couldn't get any more wacky, I'm a bubble guy now.
The most recent was for the longest hanging bubble chain, blowing 35 bubbles before half of them floated away. Langley never set out to become a bubbleologist. His success with the soap bubble circus came after his career hit an all-time low. He was burnout, battling depression, and dealing with the aftermath of a client defaulting on a payment, shorting him thousands of dollars.
When I would get at my most stressed out, I would go out into the driveway and blow bubbles. And I could just feel my heart rate coming down, and I could feel the stress almost like floating away with each bubble.
Bubbles reignited his passion for performing, so he set out to help lighten the load for others.
Making people smile, making people happy, taking them out of that moment for just a little bit.
This summer, Steve took his show from the Carolinas to California, performing at the El Capitan Theater for the premiere of Finding Dory. His niche has earned him a number of nicknames.
Bubble man, bubble guy, bubble dude.
But back at home, hanging out with his wife, 2 daughters, and rescue dog, he's simply known as Dad.
He's a fun dad to have around the house.
Well, life with my husband is never boring. There is always something going on.
That's it, good. Give it a nice, make sure you pull it off from the top when you go up and pull it off. That's it, just like that.
Downstairs, his daughters join him in the Bubble Lab, turning the soap bubble circus into a family affair.
I like to perform just like my dad.
Emily is 10, Sarah's 17, and together they're the Bubbleini sisters, in training to run the show when Dad's out of town.
It's fun to see the expression on people's faces.
Perfect.
Because so many people love bubbles, and it's cool to see how they'll react to them.
It's really hard not to smile when there are bubbles around.
Through a career of ups and downs, Langley hopes his daughters learn to follow their passion and find their bliss. Back Back at the library, kids stare in awe of these whimsical wonders floating through the sky without a worry in the world. For Carolina Impact, I'm Danielle Koser reporting.
Thanks, Danielle. To find out when the Soap Bubble Circus performs near you, visit our website, pbscharlotte.org. Well, before we say goodnight, we want to remind you to...
I'd be whatever you want. You may remember the annual White House Halloween party was earlier this week.
A Huntersville man was there as an invited guest, a performer with bubbles. Our Kristen Hampton has tonight's good news.
A really good benefit of it is
a thin layer of water
that I didn't think about when I started getting into it.
Sandwiched between 2 layers of soap.
But I realized after doing it a while is that it's very laid back. It's very zen.
It's a simple science this man has turned into an entire career.
I am a bubbleologist. I've managed to make a living blowing soap bubbles.
If that makes you laugh...
Still can't believe it.
Well, then good.
Soapy orbs of joy.
Steve Langley is a professional entertainer. He performs his bubble shows all over the world.
It's all about win.
But his biggest gig to date still has him flying high.
Never in a million years, in all of my dreams, all of my craziest, wildest dreams, never would I ever thought I would be blowing bubbles for the first family at the White House.
The annual White House Halloween party features dozens of entertainers performing for crowds of mostly military families and their kids. And, of course, the President and First Lady.
And it was wonderful weather. We had a great day. Did not get to meet the President, unfortunately.
If a kid tells his parents he wants to play with bubbles when he grows up, as a job, a few shifty eyes might suggest a more realistic career. But what a surprise it would be for those parents if it actually turned out to be a soapy success.
It doesn't get much bigger, I don't think, than blowing bubbles for the most important man in the world.
That's Steve's story, and this is the pinnacle of his very successful career with bubbles. In Huntersville with the good news.
You just never get tired of watching them.
Kristen Hampton, WBTV, on your side.
Now let's go to Tanya.